Hello and welcome to TradeFlow Television,
bringing you valuable analysis and actionable intelligence
through the global commodity markets.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. Tightening global supplies of basic foodstuffs and disruptions to shipping caused by the coronavirus pandemic are driving up the cost of rice, the most important staple food for billions of people worldwide. Rising food prices are a worrying trend in countries that depend on imports, while the cost of rice is politically sensitive in many parts of Asia and Africa. A spike in the price of the grain led to unrest in several countries during the world food crisis of 2008. Benchmark rice prices jumped 20% to 45% in key Asian producers last year, while demand for lower-quality rice as an alternative animal feed and soaring shipping costs are raising concerns that poorer nations that rely on imports may face shortfalls in supplies.
Argentine farmers have dramatically accelerated sales from the upcoming 2020-21 corn harvest, due to concern that the government may yet again try to limit international sales. The Agriculture Ministry has caused uncertainty by going back and forth in recent weeks on policies seeking to ensure ample food supplies by limiting international shipments of corn. Argentina is the world's number 3 exporter of the grain. Between January 7 and 13, producers sold 1.07 million tons of 2020-21 corn to exporters, up from 334,300 tons in the same period last year, according to Ministry of Agriculture data.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Japan's imports of oil fell to the lowest in more than 50 years last year as the pandemic hit economic activity and accelerated a long-term decline, while other energy purchases fell to decade lows, Reuters calculations based on data released on Thursday showed. Liquefied natural gas imports also declined, dropping to the smallest amount since before the Fukushima nuclear disaster, which sent purchases by the world's biggest buyer of the fuel soaring as reactors were shut down, the preliminary data released by the Finance Ministry showed. Crude imports into the world's fourth biggest importer of oil dropped 16% to 2.5 million barrels a day, the lowest since at least the late 1960s, according to the country's trade ministry.
Oil slipped on Thursday after industry data showed a surprise increase in U.S. crude inventories that revived pandemic-related demand concerns, but United States stimulus hopes limited the price fall. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 25 cents, or 0.5%, to $53.06 a barrel, following 2 days of gains on expectations of massive COVID-19 relief spending under new U.S. President Joe Biden. U.S. crude oil inventories rose 2.6 million barrels in the week to January 15. Data from industry group the American Petroleum Institute showed, compared with analysts' forecasts in a Reuters poll for a 1.2 million barrel fall. Moving on to metal price moves. China's 2 biggest aluminium makers have issued a joint proposal on how their industry should seek to reduce emissions, conserve energy and produce low-carbon metal, as part of a national plan to achieve carbon neutrality. China is the world's largest producer of aluminium, which is made using an energy-intensive smelting process. President Xi Jinping has pledged China will reach peak carbon emissions before 2030 and become carbon neutral by 2060. State-owned Aluminum Corp of China and Shandong Weiqiao proposal calls for increased investment in technology to reduce emissions and improve energy saving, as well as greater use of clean energy sources such as hydropower, wind power and solar, and more recycling of aluminium.
Global copper smelting activity climbed in December, led by top producer China, while North America extended its decline as coronavirus cases surged, data from satellite surveillance of copper plants showed. Europe dipped slightly, but its copper smelting activity remained strong, satellite service Savan and broker Marex Spectron said in a joint statement on Thursday. China and the rest of Asia continued the rapid expansion that was seen in November, although as we head towards Chinese New Year, we would expect to see some softening of activity levels, said Guy Wolf, global head of analytics at Marex, which helped develop Savan. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. Ukrainian milling wheat export prices exceeded $300 per ton on Wednesday, supported by a sharp upward trend in Russia, analyst APK Inform said on Thursday. Asking prices for 12.5% milling soft wheat added $2 a ton and were quoted between $292 and $303 per ton FOB Black Sea, the consultancy said in a report. Analysts in Russia said the country's wheat export prices rose sharply last week ahead of a new export tax imposed by one of the world's largest wheat exporters from mid-February.
That is all for today's news on the commodity market. Stay tuned to TradeFlow TV as we continue to provide you with more updates. You can also follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow TV1, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop.